So, here is to all my friends with whom for last 1.5, 2 years I have been trying to rationalize as to why Donald Trump is going to win this election. A lot of my friends tend to live on the coast or live in the urban areas. They're educated. Many of them have 2 degrees, master's degrees. They're white collar professionals. Generally speaking, most of them have household incomes definitely in excess of $100,000 a year. Most of their kids go to Ivy League schools, top schools. Many of them, their kids go to private schools. So all the friends that they have and the people that they hang out with, the colleagues that they hang out with, I would say most of the people that they talk to are essentially people who create an echo chamber of elite types who essentially had no real input about what this election meant for the people who don't belong to that class of people. And when I was rationally giving my input about the fact that I expected Donald Trump to win, is not because I wanted him to win, of course, for my own reasons. His policies, his tax policies, his business friendly attitude, his ability to remove some of the burdens, regulatory burdens, tax burdens. And because I'm an employer, as a businessman, from my pocketbook perspective, it made sense to vote for Donald Trump. Also, I wasn't blind to all his negatives. I know he was a playboy. He had 3 wives, 5 children from 3 different wives. I was around in all of the 1990s when all the tabloid stuff used to go around in the New Jersey, New York area. And he was essentially in the news for all the wrong reasons, for all his marriage and the divorces that he had, his affairs, all of them were public records. So I didn't expect any character of the conservative kind from him. I knew he was not a Christian. I knew he was not a conservative in the classical sense of the word. He was not a church-going guy. He was not particularly religious, if at all. But there was one thing I understood about him, is that despite being a guy who ran a large company, he worked in the construction industry. And unlike any other industry, the construction industry requires you to work with the people on the ground, because ultimately it's about concrete, it's about reinforced steel, it's about helmets, it's about creating buildings out of nothing. And what I understood is that the guy really could talk to the common person in a very friendly and a genuine, affectionate manner. He actually cared. That's something I saw. And he essentially took that caring and transported that to all the non-elite people living in Detroit, in Pennsylvania, in Iowa, in rural South Carolina, North Carolina, even places like California, Michigan. And the other thing was, he did not distinguish between any particular type of American from one another, meaning he didn't put them in a box. He didn't say, well, white people are in one box, black people are in another box, Hispanics are in another box, Muslims are in another box. What he essentially tried to address was, hey, what's wrong with America? What's wrong with our current politics? How do you go about solving issues like terrorism? How do you go about solving issues of illegal immigration? And he called the villains for what they were. If they were villains, he called them villains. He didn't spare even the media types, even the people who were his friends. I'm sure most of the people who are media anchors on CNN, on CNBC, on MSNBC, they are on a first name basis with him. When he gives them a call, they're his friends. He's on a first name basis with them. They know him. They will easily give access to him. But even those people, when they turned against him in a lying fashion, in a biased fashion, he called them out for what they were becoming. And a lot of people think that it's personal about him. It's not personal about him. He will call it out. You should have seen how he behaved with President Obama on his first day. He had called President Obama, the first black president, as illegitimate because he thought that he was not born here. But that's the law. It's got nothing to do with the president being black. The media conflated the fact that there was a question about President Barack Obama's birth certificate and President Barack Obama was black. If you look at all the rants that Donald Trump has made about President Barack Obama's birth certificate, at no place you will find even a hint of racism. But it's the media who conflates the fact that he's white, he's shockingly white, blonde, and President Obama is black, as someone who as black as can be. And people just conflated that the birth certificate issue was somehow related to the president being black, which is far from the truth. He took it upon himself to challenge that if it was unlawful, then we should check into it. And everybody just simply piled on him, positively, negatively. And he didn't care at that time because he was a real TV show host, reality TV show host, where you are taught, hey, good publicity, bad publicity, any publicity that you get for free is great. So, to all my friends, I want to just say this, that you got to peer out of your echo chamber. You have to get out of the bubble that you live in. And it's not that I made a personal attempt to do that, but because I run a company and a lot of my customers are in the call center industry in rural America. I mean, I have customers in Greenville, South Carolina, where my customer, BMW, and one more company are the only employers, and then rest of it is it's Bible country. It's people living very simple lives with very simple means. In those places, what I found was there was a clear-cut appeal of Donald Trump because he was talking straight to them. He was giving them straight talk. In fact, most of those places, I can tell you to all my elite friends, that if you go to North Carolina, you go to South Carolina, you go to Detroit, you go to Pennsylvania, They don't understand even the word misogyny. They won't be able to spell it. Okay? They don't know what the hell xenophobia means, let alone define it. They will say, hey, he's patriotic, America first. How is it xenophobic? They're simple people. They look at it and say, yes, America first. Red, white, and blue. I mean, that's how it is. It's not about racism. The elites in this country completely misconstrued what Donald Trump was saying. And I was fortunate enough to have people who are my employees. They are from Atlanta, Georgia, or they are from Greenville, South Carolina, or from Chicago, or from Cleveland, Ohio. I have customers who are in totally blighted neighborhoods, row after row after row after row of houses which are completely destroyed, just like Detroit. And there's nothing there, no hope, nothing, just like Flint, Michigan. But all the Democrats did is to just visit there in a helicopter, make speeches, sing Kumbaya, and then go back to your coastal palaces. But that's not where real America lives. Real America lives in small, tiny houses, making $8, $9, $10 an hour, not necessarily full-time jobs, waitressing in a diner, eating at Perkins or McDonald's, or at the local greasy place where you get Sloppy Joe and burger and grits. That's where real America lives. 70% of them. And those are all the people who came out for Donald Trump and voted for it. And I'm not only surprised that most of my elite friends thought it impossible that Hillary Clinton is going to lose, but they did not even give it a chance that this is going to happen. Whereas I actually put my money where my mouth is. I put $1,000 bet with a friend of mine on the West Coast that Trump was going to win. I gave him 50-50 odds. On the day before election, even I was swayed by all the pollsters that Hillary was going to win. So another friend of mine, I gave him 1:3 odds for a $100 bet on Trump. He was going to pay me $300 if Trump won. But I was willing to put real money where my mouth was. And I won that money. And the surprising thing for me is that even after the election is over, most of my friends are still in denial. And to me, that's just a waste of intelligence. Become objective. Withdraw your personal biases and try and analyze what has happened objectively, not emotionally, objectively, and you'll realize that this was inevitable. You've seen this phenomenon in India, where Hindus as a majority basically said, we have had enough of political correctness, enough of us being told that we are Islamophobic and we are bad people and we are racist or xenophobic or horrible to Muslims and all that. They basically said, stop telling us that. And they voted Modi in. Even there, the same thing. Modi was being painted as a terrorist, killer of 2002, and a person who was denied visa by UK, US, everybody. But despite that, Modi won there. The same phenomenon is happening in America. People are tired of being told that they are Islamophobic when they are not. All they are saying is, at this point in history, most of the people who are committing terrorist acts all around the world happen to be Muslim, and people should call it out for what it is. Maybe 30 years from now, it'll be all Hindus who kill people. Maybe it's all Irish who kill people. Maybe Russians who are terrorists, or maybe Mexicans who are terrorists, or maybe Americans who are terrorists, right? But until that happens, when you see a pattern, you call for what it is, and when you deny it, you duck it, and you blame the victim as racist and xenophobic, or take the context out of someone's honest comment. For example, Donald Trump did say that he would ban all Muslims temporarily from entering the United States. But people forget the context in which that happened. He said it the day 45 people were dead in San Bernardino, killed by a Pakistani who was an American citizen now, and his wife, who was of Pakistani origin, and they happened to be Muslim. Same thing in Orlando, same thing in Boston. In Boston, they were Muslims, but not from Pakistan, not from Syria, but from Chechnya and Russia. So what's common between the guy in Orlando, the guys in Boston, the guy in San Bernardino? That they are all Muslim. Their ethnic identities are not same. In fact, the guy in Orlando is the son of a Afghan American. The guy in San Bernardino is the son of a Pakistani American. The guy in Boston were Chechen and Russian origin. The logical question is, what's common between all of them? They're all Muslim. So it's logical for Donald Trump, who is a rational man, surprise, surprise, to make a comment like that. But to just simply extract that comment and take it away from the context, the time and space in which that comment is made, and isolate it and then repeat it as a lie, is the height of delusional duplicity. And I want my smart friends who are very intelligent to look at that and understand that a statement is made in a context. The word context means time and space. The date, time, space, location, geographic location, where it's tied to a particular event. That's how people make comments. They're not absolute, they're not devoid of a context. For example, President Obama made a comment about, hey, I draw a line, a solid line, that if Syria uses, Bashar Assad uses chemical weapons, they would have crossed the red line and they would be punished. It means something. There was a context. So, in that context, Barack Obama is considered a pacifist president. He got a Nobel Prize for peace, if you remember. But then he said that he would take care of Syria. He would attack Syria if they cross the red line. It does not make him a warmonger. It makes him a president who says that I'll react a certain way if you act in a barbaric fashion. So statement made in a context has to be looked at with the context, not devoid of it. So I hope that a lot of my friends would take themselves out of the elite intellectual bubble and objectively analyze the results that they have seen, and for God's sake, for the next 4 years, don't make the mistake of blindly believing in the caricature of Donald Trump that media has portrayed for you. Because it's not good for you, it's not good for the country, it's not good for the way you live. This is a democracy, and the will of the people, whether you like it or not, has to be accepted. And accept we must. There it is. I've said my piece. No more election talk. God bless America.